I get up early in the morning, normally 5, 6, something. I go prayer walking. So the previous night I'd been reading some stats. And 26th of January is our what we call Republic Day. That's when India accepted its constitution back in 60 years ago. So I'm reading about that, and I was reading some stats, and discovered India grows by 50,000 people a day, every day. About 65,000 people are born, 15,000 people die, so net gain every day is about 50,000 people. So that's prayer walking. I was thinking about this Republic Day. It's coming, and the logo in the front page of our Constitution says in Sanskrit, Satyamev Jayate, which means truth shall conquer. And to me, truth means Jesus. So our logo, right in front page, says, Jesus shall conquer. So then I heard, as I do listening prayer, very little talking, as I told you. God says, prove it. Prove it that Jesus will be victorious in India. So I interpreted that from the background of what I was reading, that 50,000 people are added. So God gave me this vision. Symbolically, you baptize 50,000 people on 26th of January, in one day. I said, oh, that's big. I can think big, but 50,000 in a single day, one day, is big by any standards. So I said, okay. So I had thought about it, prayed about it, and had breakfast. And then I made the first call to Roderick. I said, Rod, this is the vision I got. God is giving me. What's your share of the market? He says, Uncle, write down 20,000 in my name. Oh, so already 20,000 gone with one phone call. I have these big thinking disciples who are. Then I made a next call to Randeep. You talked to Randeep yesterday. And he says, write down 20,000 in my name. I said, oh, 40,000 gone already. And then I rang up south to Anurup. He's another 20,000. So I already overfunded in 3 phone calls. But Roderick did more than that. What he did, he telephoned somebody he knew in Bombay. And that, what's his name? Abraham, from Acts. Biju. So Biju is an organizer. He said, what we will do, you will need a lot of prayer backup. So I will organize the National Prayer Network. So he organized the National Prayer Network to pray for this event. And we only got a couple of months to do this whole thing. Not even, it's only about 6 weeks. So then he telephoned somebody in Chennai, Madras. We got to form the national, and he knows exactly the guy who's going to, Patrick Joshua, who's a prayer man. So we inaugurate that. I go to Chennai, we go, and that thing gets going. And we do nationwide information. People start praying for this event. Internationally also, pray. And I start fasting. First thing I do is give up eating meat, which is a big sacrifice for me. I can't manage without meat. So for 15 days I don't eat any meat. Then the next 15 days I live and give up eating food. I live on soups, tea, coffee. So that's 1 month. In the last 15 days, I live on water, tap water. No food, no tea, no coffee. 15 days, I'm just minus food. And I don't know, about 10, 12 kgs I lost at the end of that. 14. Huh? 14 kgs of weight. And I never knew tap water tasted that good. It's really, you get weaker by the day. But I was getting physically stronger rather than weaker, because it did a lot of good to me physically. And then come 26th of January, and we start collecting the data into who baptized how many. It takes a little while. India is a big country. And eventually we could record 67,000 baptisms in one day. Oh, we're absolutely delighted. We're absolutely delighted about that. And before we finish celebrations, God gives me another vision. Pentecost is around the corner, 21st of May or something like that, last year. And the vision this time is double it. If Peter could baptize 3,000, why can't you baptize, 100,000? So I said, oh, here we start again. So again we do the same thing. I go, this time our network is much bigger. And a lot of telephones, prayer, fasting. A lot of people now got involved. I didn't have to do any fasting. And then come 21st of May, takes some time to get the information. And it's not 100,000, it's 263,000. Oh, that's really something that we could count. We couldn't always count what's happening where. And so, absolutely delighted by that. Now everybody's heard about the Pentecost, and Pentecost is the birthday of the church, and celebrate. This information's gone everywhere. I wrote a little paper on the Pentecost, that this is the birthday, celebrated with 3,000 baptisms, like Peter. And, a little bit. And so this 260,000, absolutely delighted, celebration. Then God gives me another vision. That you haven't really made a dent in the statistics of the nation, because we have 1 billion people. What's 260,000? Drop in the ocean. Oh, he put me down right back. Then another prayer walk one morning. He says, how about 1 million? 1 million? Oh my goodness, that's too big. I hadn't thought about it. So I think about it, I pray about it. Then I become serious about the whole thing. Then at this time I have to do much more networking, involve more people in fasting and prayer, and goal orientation. And this time I do only 10 days fasting, because everybody else is doing it now. I've done that one model. So I do 10 days. Again, the same thing. Several days of going off meat, then several days going off food, and final 10 days this time is tap water. That's it for 10 days. I lose some weight again. This time it is 7 kgs. And what happened, that blurb that I wrote on the Pentecost, baptized 3,000, some Christian radio stations picked it up from somewhere. They heard about it. Some traditional churches picked it up. Whole lot of people were doing this thing, celebrate Pentecost with 3,000 baptism. Now once it got to the radio, and several radio channels picked it up, it became a national movement. It just went out of my hand altogether. But we tried to get the figure. Getting the figures was one big mess, because how do you collect from this size nation 1 million figures? Who did what, how many? And some people also got in the act and gave wrong figures, exaggerated figures. So we had to filter that to see whether it's right figures or not. But our guesstimate, we never got the right figure, but our figure is that we at least in the whole year, by the end of the year, the January, the Pentecost, and this Pentecost, we comfortably crossed the 1 million mark. So it's not because what we did in 1 year. God had been building up. First year, as I said, 93 when we started ministry. In the whole year, we only baptized 10 people, and we thought that was remarkable, big. Next year when we did 50, we were, wow, that's good. Next year it was when we crossed the 100, celebrating century. We scored a century. And then in 5 years, so we never looked back. The numbers kept growing. And so it's not an overnight work that happened suddenly because we did this thing or we did something special. God has been building up me and my team, both in terms of faith, because just to say million, and there's some people who prayed didn't believe it was possible. That was another big problem. Big problem with the Christians who couldn't believe. And some of the people were there, no, I said, you must be bluffing. This is not possible. So a whole lot of speeches were given from international forum, they're bluffing. But fortunately, Abhishek and his team, we have a research team. And if you come and report to us, I baptized 10 people, 100 people, we don't write the numbers. You have to give us the name and addresses. So we can validate that. Even there, people can bluff you because they can give you a lot of fictitious names. And you have to find out how to filter that one. So what God is showing through all this is breaking all the barriers, mental barriers that we had. The number is 2, 10, 50. You never hear of people more than a dozen baptisms here and there, because we come with that mental, this is all that's possible. But God showed us, in the last days I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. And the men were baptizing, women were baptizing, young people baptized, totally illiterate. I think the illiterates did more than the qualified people. The qualified people have too many hang-ups. It's not, they're the naysayers. No, it's not possible. It cannot be done. So he said, why? You believe in the God of impossibles? Yeah, I believe. God is a God of impossibles. You believe in awesome God? Yes, I believe. You believe in great God? Yeah. But million baptisms? No. I think in this decade we will see many millionaires. The problem is here. The barriers are here. But you have to struggle for it. I mean, at my age of 75, I was there. I was no food for 10 days, 15 days. It can be tough. But you make little, that's just God just wants to know how serious you are. And so it's a building up team. All this has taken some years. So this is what happened. This year we're not going for million baptisms. We're saying we got a huge harvest, and if we do not build up leadership, eldership, all the harvest will be lost. Or we'll end up having a church like they have in Africa, mile long, 1 inch deep. Shallow church. So we said we will not go for this million baptisms or 10 million baptisms. We will consolidate. This is year we're calling year of consolidation. We will consolidate what we have, the gains, make sure that everyone who's joined the kingdom matures and becomes productive. That's what we are. So everybody in my team will be talking about leadership, eldership, and pass the baton to these elders who will make sure that everybody is fruitful. And so I think we'll exceed the million mark. But that's not what we're targeting this now. We are targeting on maturity, consolidation. So I'm challenging people, be a millionaire of souls. Why not? We believe in great God. We believe in awesome God. We believe in God of impossibles. So when I was a young fellow in medical school, we had a neurophysician. His name is Roger Bannister in England. He was a neurophysician, a doctor, and he 100 meters, not meters, yards in those days. No, mile. And he was trying to do the mile under 10 seconds. And everybody said, not possible. I mean, yeah, after all, we are human beings. You can't cross the 10-second mark, but he did it. He broke that 10-second mark. So it has always been, he was a doctor, this fellow, and he did it. He decided that he was going to break the 10-second mark. So if you decide you're going to be a millionaire of souls, you can do it. Anybody can do it. Not, don't look up here, don't look up there, don't look up there. You have to form a network. You have to have an infrastructure. You have to have people who can say, write down 20,000 in my name. So now we have a network in India. So a million, we're still are divided. Some people say Victor Choudhrie is bluffing. It's not possible. And these are people who prayed for me. Some of them. And there are others who are saying, no, he's way ahead of a million, much more. Million is what we can account for. The others, we don't know how many people heard in the radio waves. But everybody caught on the vision of celebrating the Pentecost as the birthday of the church. And to celebrate, shoot for 3,000 baptisms. Not just having a cookout or this function in the church. Shouldn't end up like that. Should end up with 3,000 baptisms. So that's really caught on now. But whatever God gives me, I don't try and repeat that next year. A completely different thing God shows me the next year. Just like He did miracles differently each time. So it's not that I go from a million to shoot for 2 million or 5 million or 10 million. No, He wants me to do something different, and I'm happy. The other vision, of course, is stretch your tent beyond India. Beyond India, to share this model. So this last year, that summit we did on House Church, Global Summit, and 40 nations came. That was a really overwhelming response from 40 nations. In your country, Australia, was well represented. Peter, Stuart Grumens, and Philip Lai, and a delegation of them came. Shoot, put your thing, ratchet up your trajectory and do that. Today's lesson from the Mark was good. Traditions. The traditions will, you wash the hands the way we wash hands. Culture will get you. In our church we don't do this, in our church we don't do that. No, I'm asking you what the Bible is asking you to do. Do that. So we'll have to break a lot of bondages. The problem is with us, the Christians, there's so many bondages we have. Sad. So, everyone shoot this year for 3,000 baptism for Pentecost. Next year we'll find out when is the next one. When is the next one, Abhishek? Can you go to the Google and find out? Next year, Pentecost dates. If every country adopts this, that next Pentecost we're going to baptize whatever number you set for yourself. And don't look at the possible figure, look for the impossible figure. But you have to work for it. It requires both fasting, it requires prayer, it requires networking. June 12th? Every year it changes. Because theirs is not a solar calendar. Theirs is a lunar calendar. The world will go back into lunar calendar eventually. When Jesus Christ comes again, from one moon to the next. So, if you can take this message when you go, that this year we're going to produce millionaire of souls. target is to start producing millionaires of souls. And we only need 20 millionaires. Yeah? How many? How many millions is your population?
22 million.
So you only need 10 or 11, because Jesus said, 2 men will be in the field. No, 2 men will be in the sleeping, and 1 man will be taken away, and 2 women will be grinding, and 1 will be taken. So you already got 50% out. Yes, message everybody has to hear. Gospel 100% people have to hear. But chosen a few. Called everybody. Chosen few. So we must start challenging people. Be a millionaire of souls. You believe in an impossible God, God of impossibles? Do it. Not many people have to pick it up. Step by step. First, the 50,000 look huge mountain in one day. The interesting part was last year when we did it, the 250,000 when we did. In one place, in one day, in one river, in one guy, tribal Beal, baptized 51,000 out of that one. Out of the 260,000, 63,000, 50,000 in a single day in a single place.
I've seen some video of in Myanmar.
Okay.
The tribal baptisms that they're having up there. Thousands crushing forward in the baptisms. Tens of thousands in one day. Unbelievable. Just as I said in the video, oh my goodness. And it's baptized in thousands.
I never got a video of my thing because, people then ask me, the next question always is, now you baptize 1 million people, what happens to these people? It's a normal question, standard question. All my baptisms happen through house churches. 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 there, 5 or 10 over there, 20, 30. So all small numbers from house churches. So they came out of house churches and they gone back to the house churches being discipled. So discipling is not a big deal for me. Because if I would have baptized 10,000, 20,000, or it happened in one place, the 51,000 also came from house churches. So they went back to their house churches. So it's not they disappeared somewhere, I don't know. Yeah, we know where they are. So if they come through the house church effort, and you have a good network in your city, Melbourne say, and you plant 100 house churches, and then all of you get together and, baptize on one day, then they go back to house churches where they're being discipled. You must never leave them alone, otherwise, they just go right back.
What about leadership then? Leadership.
After lunch, I'm with
Somebody hasn't signed in this paper. Please do.
Set your target and go for it. I mean, that's what, all these mega church guys at the top end, very early on, they set a goal for themselves. 5,000 mega church, 10,000 mega church, 20,000 mega church. They set, and they go for it. They have that thing on it. That's how they can achieve it. It just doesn't happen. They go for it. And now we are seeing a new generation that's going for not mega church, but meta church. Thousands of meta church. Yeah, I'll have my 1,000 people, but I will have it in 1,000 roofs, not in one roof. And Roderick, it took me 2 years to convert that guy. Because he'd been to Singapore or someplace and he'd seen a mega church and he was just taken up that. I'm in Delhi and I'm going to do something like this. And when I met him and I talked to him about house church, he sort of came down like a balloon, He said, I'm thinking of mega church and you talking about this little church. So, slowly when he started changing, but he didn't completely change. When he would see me, he'd talk house church. When somebody else was there, he'd be talking his mega church. But God organized it in such a way that he ended up having 1,000 churches under 1,000 roofs. And he still built his big building, but he used it as a training center. I think that training center has really been used like God's purposes for training people to go and plant house churches. Now it's beyond his controls, which is what should happen. House church movement is a movement only when it's beyond your control. If you're controlling it, it's not a house church. It should be beyond human control. The wind bloweth where it listeth, and no one knows where it comes from and whence it goes. That's how the house church movement should be. If you can tell there's a house church here for the last 10 years, then it's not a house church. So you're young enough, Andrew?
Yeah.
Million souls? Amen.
Beverly introduces me as the wife of a millionaire.
When she speaks, they have lots of questions. The problem is somebody who's standing there has a track record. So how do you ask questions to somebody? That's what we need to produce, people who have this vision for. So I usually, when I'm training people, I work a lot on vision. Vision. Get the vision and run with it. Get the vision and run with it. Most people get the vision, structural vision. We'll build a building and I'll have so many people in this kind of service, or we'll do crusade and we'll get 10,000 people and we'll raise so much budget. Focus is somewhere else. It's not on winning souls. It doesn't require much budget. Requires, if money is needed, but the movement comes when we know movement is on, because there is no money required anymore. If it still needs money to push it, to drive it, then it's not a spontaneous movement. Yes, money is still required at that stage, but they're raising it themselves. So I'm hoping David's going to write, we have raised up at least 10 people who are going to next 12th of June, 2011. And she's going to back up the women, train women, master trainers, yeah? As amazing it was to me, because I live in a very small, tiny village. When I live in a farmhouse, and our village is so small, it's difficult for you. We have about 25. How many families live in our village?
How many?
Families.
35 families.
35 families. That's all. And they're all tribals.
Few tribals and few, 4 untouchable families.
Yeah, that's all. And there, from there to coordinate, somebody will say to coordinate international movement, you need to stay in a big city. No, God can work from anywhere. And Abhishek has set up a technology system. So last week I was on video conferencing in Turkey. Of course we could have done with Lucas advanced system. But, the Skype was okay. And we have internet most of the time, broadband. In my house, you can sit anywhere with wireless system. He set it up in such a way that you can sit outside and you can network. So we connected. So set your sights, set your goals, and go for it. See, when I look at the South Korean model David Young chose, it took him so many years to reach goal of million souls. He's probably crossed it now. Last 4 or 5 years ago, it was 700,000 members in the church, because he's so focused on membership. We're not focused on membership. We're focused on discipleship. And disciple is out there discipling. He's not in the church. So we're essentially very different from South Korean model. We are much closer to the Chinese model. The underground, secret, small ones. But Chinese got corrupted. They now have pastors in most of their churches. And once you have pastor, he controls. And he has his church programs. So it's stopping. So Chinese model is not growing anymore. In fact, it's suffering attrition. Part of the problem has been West. The West went over there and said this has become cultic. The Chinese church has become cultic in many places, which is true. In many places it did become, went off the track. But the great advantage of the house church is, if it becomes cultic, it disappears. It's a small thing. 5, 10, 20 people got lost. But if a mega church goes off the track, then thousands go off the track. So the biggest church in the world is the most cultic church, the Catholic Church. So we can't say the size of the church matters for it to go cultic. Anybody can go cultic. Let's do some mathematics. Take out Isaiah 60 verse 22. Isaiah 60 verse 22. What does it say?
The least of you will become 1,000, the smallest a mighty nation. I am the Lord, that's why I will do this with you.
So the smallest will become 1,000. Yes?
The smallest a mighty nation.
A mighty
The
nation?
least of you will become 1,000.
Least will become 1,000. Okay. So you got to aim that everybody becomes 1,000. The least. You can identify with that?
You can start.
Now I tell you. Now I'm going to teach you a formula how you become 1,000. Is there a blackboard here somewhere? Sunil? Yeah. Oh, he has the blackboard, whiteboard downstairs.
The smallest
The least of you will become 1,000. The smallest a mighty nation.
It's got both nation as well as how to become 1,000. So what you do on your paper, you write the formula. You are the least. Okay, so you're 1. And every month you disciple just one person. So you write first month 1 plus 1 becomes 2. Very simple mathematics. Next month number 2 below that. Now you are 2, and so 2 disciple 2 people, so you become 4. So second month, end of the second month, you have 4 people. Now you carry on the rest. The third month, you have 4 people become how many? 4 plus 4? 8.
Aye.
8.
You'll become an honorary Australian citizen. We'll accept you.
Okay. Then 4th month. 8 plus 8? 16. Go on doing it, and you keep telling me now. Somebody who's a mathematician here.
32.
Write the months and then petition and tell me what happens at the end of 10 months. Do the maths till the 10 months and tell me what happens. Ten months. No, 10 months. How many have you got there?
10 months I have 4,000.
Huh? 4,000? No.
10 months.
10 months, 1,024.
1,024. You got everybody got?
1,024.
Okay. Oh, forget the 24. You know, it's a few dropped by the roadside. If you only disciple one person every month, no more, you end up having 1,000 people plus in 10 months. Even if you went on a holiday and came to India and lost a couple of months, you still have 1,000 by the end of the year. All you have to do is systematically disciple just one person every month. Forget all of me. All the other agendas. Possible? Is it possible to disciple one person a month?
Yeah.
Easy.
Days.
So it's not a huge thing. You don't have to gather lots of people and you have to do lots of activities. No. You just, wherever you happen to be carpenter, you do in your building site. You disciple him there. And when you're ready for the kill, invite him for a dinner. That's all. To your dining table. And that's where you do the finishing job. Huh?
He said the slaughterhouse.
The slaughterhouse.
Yes, good.
Bet Zebach, they call it. The Jews call it. Bet Zebach, the house of slaughter. Doable?
Yeah.
Who was trying to say the doable yesterday? You? She kept coming up with durable.
In the one university in the US,
Yeah.
they did this multiplication
Yeah?
with a chessboard.
Okay.
Put 1 grain of rice on the first section. By the time they get to the how many? 164th. They said that you have enough grains of rice to cover the continent of India about this deep.
It's true. It's true.
Powerful.
Our problem is doing too many things. We're doing too many things. Going to church, doing this thing, that thing. There are so many church programs. And you're a mega church, so I don't have to tell you.
We need to learn to do the one thing.
Where is the Sunil's book? 1 grain program they did. 1 grain of rice this man took, the farmer, and now he's a multimillionaire. When you go on sabbatical, say, all I'm going to do this year for next 10 months, one disciple every month. I'm not going to church, I'm not going to go into any activity, I'm not going to do this, that, or the, I'm not going to be sidetracked. In 10 months, I'm going to baptize 1,000 people. That's not me, because I'm only baptizing. Altogether, I will end up discipling 9 people at the end of the year. That's all. At the end of the year, I have to disciple only 9 people, but everybody I disciple has to disciple 1 person. That's where I've got my main job is to make sure I disciple. Is he discipling or not? And he disciples so and so. His job is to make sure that his 9 disciples disciple. That's all. That's where the main focus is. But it's so simple. You only have to disciple 9, 10 people in the whole year, no more. But you have to monitor the network. And it's so easy today, monitoring. Because you got cell phones. Everybody is attached to the cell phone. Whenever, wherever. Whether you are out there in the field or farm or in the toilet, you can still connect. No Indian will go to the toilet without his mobile phone, he says. Because you never know, he says. I might get an urgent call.
So to speak.